Good evening readers, it's Tilly here from Tilly Shelf and welcome to my Jane Austen July TBR. So I'm a little bit sceptical about TBRs for myself because I'm really bad at sticking to them. For evidence of this, see my June plans video in which I listed about 8 or 9 books that I was intending to read in June, and of these I have finished only one, which is The Stone Sky by NK Jemisin. I finished this book today because I sat down for maybe 4 or 5 hours on my day off. I just decided to dedicate it to finishing this book before July started so that I could put everything behind me and have a clean slate for July and just think about Jane Austen. So everything that I say about what I'm going to read comes with the little side note that I might not manage it at all. So what is Jane Austen July? Jane Austen July is a wonderful month-long annual read-along organised by Katie from Books and Things and Marissa at Blatantly Bookish, and the rest of us just like bask in the glory of spending a month reading about Jane Austen and reading her works and just generally being jubilant about the fact that Jane existed and did what she did to shape our literature and our storytelling and our more recently our films and our ideas of society and romance and you know, like how to structure a sentence and yeah, just generally how wonderful Jane is. So there are 6 challenges. I'm not going to go through one challenge. I'm not going to go through this challenge by challenge. I'm going to do a more like a themed approach, I think. We're going to see how this is going to work to how I'm going to do my TBR. But yeah, let's just get into it. So the first challenge is to read one of Jane Austen's 6 major novels, and I am going to read Northanger Abbey, which is one of her earliest stories that she wrote, although it was very late in being published. It was published posthumously because she had to buy it back from the publisher who she originally sold it to. It's very short, which is why it is a target for me at the moment in my current inability to read situation. And it's also an absolutely delightful story, and one that was my favourite when I was in my teens, when I was first reading all of the novels of Jane Austen, because it's just got so much that a young woman can relate to, in the same way that maybe Persuasion has something that you can relate to more as an old woman. It's about like figuring out how to act around people, around strangers when you've grown up in a small community. It's about working out how to trust somebody or not to trust somebody, and working out how to act in a crowded social situation. And it's about knowing what your reality is and what is your dreams and your fantasies, I suppose. And it also has the most fantastic love interest of all of the works of Jane Austen. Yes, I would rank Mr. Tilney above Mr. Darcy. Why? Because Mr. Darcy is constantly serious, and so are all the other Jane Austen heroes and love interests. They are all serious, responsible, dignified, honourable older men. And Mr. Tilney, despite being a clergyman, is just completely irreverent and silly and light-hearted. He's serious when he needs to be serious, but he has this great appreciation for the light-hearted side of life, and he is able to tease and just amuse the reader and Catherine in a way that is more reminiscent of how Lizzie is, for instance, in Pride and Prejudice, than how Darcy is. So yeah, I really love the character of Mr. Tilney, and I'm very much looking forward to rereading this one. To go with my rereading of Northanger Abbey, I'm also going to be rewatching the adaptation starring Felicity Jones, which was, I think it was made in 2007? Yes, 2007. And it's just brilliantly done, and it builds on one of the things that it builds in is the stories that Catherine Morland was reading at the time, which are the stories that Northanger Abbey was written in response to, such as The Mysteries of Udolpho. So you can see where this is going, because the other thing that I'm going to be reading is going to be The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe, and that is going to be for the this is the struggle, I'm getting lost. The fifth challenge, which is to read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen. So watching Northanger Abbey is for the 6th challenge, which is to watch an adaptation. So in my Northanger Abbey themed reading, I will cover 3 of the challenges. Yeah, that's the plan. I have The Mysteries of Udolpho as an audiobook. I have read it previously, but it is quite a dense and complex book. It's very plot driven, but also very, very descriptive, and I think I would benefit from a reread in a different format. There is a definite like melodrama to the telling, and there are definitely some things that I'm not looking forward to going into again because I remember them being maybe a little bit tiresome at the time, but I'm hoping that overall I will get something out of it, and I hope at the end of that or during it I will be able to put out a video inspired by it that will be hopefully of some interest. However, The Mysteries of Udolpho is not going to be the only book by a contemporary of Jane Austen that I'm going to be reading in July. The other book that I have made a definite commitment to read is actually a play. It's the play Lovers' Vows by Mrs. Inchbald. And yes, this is the play that is at the heart of Mansfield Park. So I think that you can't really understand Northanger Abbey without understanding about the Gothic stories that it responds to. And I am expecting that you can't really understand Mansfield Park and the moralities of Mansfield Park without understanding the play that is at the heart of it. I have never read this play before, and I'm super excited to actually read it and start to see how it reflects on the book. And I'm reading it jointly with Roz from Scallydandling About the Books, and we are going to be discussing it together for our July discussing drama video. So that should be an interesting discussion, I would hope. There's a part of me that feels like if I'm reading Lovers' Vows, I should be reading Mansfield Park as well, but Mansfield Park, I don't know if you can see it there, but it is long, and I reread it maybe last year or the year before, but pretty recently, so I don't feel like I really need to plunge into that one again, much as I love it. I really do. I really think it's fantastic, and I know some people don't like it so much, but I think they might be wrong. I think it might be possibly the most genius of all the books of Jane Austen, and she, as we all know, is a genius of literature. And sorry, just trying to make the cat come and join us. She likes Jane Austen too, doesn't she? Well, whenever we watch Jane Austen adaptations, she always comes and sits on our laps, so that she's got to like Jane Austen. Speaking of other Jane Austen adaptations, I can't pick them up now because I'm holding a cat. I'm hopefully going to rewatch the 6-episode BBC Pride and Prejudice adaptation with Colin Firth and Jennifer Ehle, which is the best Pride and Prejudice adaptation that there is. Because earlier on this year I did reread Pride and Prejudice, and I also rewatched the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, so I think that would complete my 2020 Pride and Prejudice re-experiencing set. But that will just depend on what timings there are and if there's time to do it. And the cat does not want to stay. So yeah. So that's on my pile of things I will hopefully watch. Because I'm planning to watch two direct adaptations of Jane Austen's work, and if I can, I want to watch the 2020 Emma if I can get hold of it as well. I might not get around to the modern adaptation. I also, because I watched the Lizzie Bennet Diaries earlier this year, I don't feel like I really need to watch a modern adaptation at the moment. But I'll just see what comes up in the month of July. And if somebody's really raving about one of them, then I might do. Sorry, that was me being startled by the cat suddenly flicking me with her ears. In terms of other things I'm going to read, I am hoping to finally get to What Matters in Jane Austen by John Mullan. This is more of a work of literary criticism, and it would fit for prompt number 3, which is a non-fiction work about Jane Austen or her time. So yeah, I feel like everybody has read this and everybody said that it's fantastic, and I wanted to read it last year, but instead I read Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley, because I didn't want to. My mum got this on the Kindle, but I don't really like reading on the Kindle very much. But this month I'm going to force myself to read this, at least some of this, on the Kindle. I normally have started to embed a habit of reading a bit of a non-fiction book every day off that I have, so I'm going to try and do that with this. It might mean that I don't finish it, but I will hopefully get somewhere with it. Speaking of trying to embed reading a bit of non-fiction every day, the other thing that I'm going to try to embed reading every day is a bit of Jane Austen's letters. I have got the edition edited by Dierdre Faye. It is arriving with me very shortly from Waterstones, which I'm very excited about. And I've seen it in the library. I know it's massive, it's really, really chunky, and I'm definitely not going to read all of it this month. But I thought that it's one that could maybe last me a few years of Jane Austen Julys, so I could read a handful of letters this year and a handful of letters next year, and that will still fulfill the prompt number 2, which is to read something by Jane Austen that is not one of her major novels. I would say that's the thing that I'm most curious about, because it's going to be actually by Jane, and it's going to be actually something by Jane that I haven't read already, so that's going to be a new experience. And people do say that they are kind of bursting with wit as well as like a little bit of the mundane in terms of just telling us about her life. The final challenge that remains is to read a retelling of a Jane Austen, and let me just open this up. This is the one that I think I might be most likely to possibly let slip, which is Miss Austen by Gill Hornby, which is about Cassandra Austen, and people have been talking and saying many positive things about it this year, so yeah, I'm hoping that I will get to it and read it and enjoy it, but it's possible that I won't, but we'll see. If I don't get to that, I do have Death Comes to Pemberley by P.D. James. I picked this up secondhand last year, I think, and I started reading at the start of last Jane Austen July, but I didn't get along with it very well. However, it's a murder mystery, and I know that once I get beyond the murder in the murder mystery, which I don't think I did, I will keep reading till the end, and I will probably read it in the space of 3 days. So if I'm struggling to read other things, this is a book that I can probably guarantee for myself that I will get finished. So yeah, that remains an option. I've already spoken for longer than I probably needed to about what I'm planning to read, but I'm also planning to try to make a few videos that will be hopefully interesting, such as one about Northanger Abbey and the mysteries of Udolpho, and maybe one about Elizabeth Bennet as a character, and yeah, I'll just see what comes up. But I feel like I haven't been doing very many interesting videos recently, so I'm going to try and do some videos that are maybe a bit more interesting, which should be possible because I think Jane's very interesting, so we shall see. Anyway, I look forward to seeing people's Jane Austen July related content and finding out what people are planning to read or have been reading that is related to Jane Austen, and generally I think it's going to be just a lovely relaxing and restorative month of wonderful Jane Austen-iness. Yeah, so thank you for watching and take care, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!